we did this presentation at the forum for the CA Web Publishing Service. And the one thing that we found when we were doing the presentation is that as we went through it, people were asking a whole bunch of questions, but the presentation itself answered those questions later on. So especially for the sake of those that are on the webinar, this will go much smoother. We allow me to get through the presentation and try to save your questions for at the end, because a lot of those questions maybe you'll have will be answered along the way. So hopefully everybody will work with me on that. I believe it'll work a lot better. So we have an agenda for this presentation. Is basically we are going over kind of the core of what we talked about at the web forum, and it's going to be basically focusing on the subscription service and the value and the features of it. So yes, we'll go ahead and move on. First, talking about an overview, this is a subscription service. We want to emphasize that. It's not a software that you basically procure or you use on a server, or that you can install on one of your servers or a server that you're using in OTech. This is a total subscription service. It's there for you to be able to use, but it's not for you to have to do anything else with as far as configuring or whatever. It's for you to be able to use for your business purposes of publishing content on the web. So it's a service being delivered by basically integrating a lot of different technologies along with a partner to help us. And a lot of stuff went into this. Again, it's not just one product, but many products, and even more products than this, or types of technologies than this are involved. And so this really segues into the next slide, because this type of effort we want to emphasize is not a simple effort to do. And we're not necessarily recommending that anybody just try to take it on. So we'd like to compare the thought of a major CMS project and you doing it yourself compared to utilizing this subscription service. A CMS project is a major undertaking. In addition to all those products that you've got to install and integrate, in addition, you have a business process that you have to basically automate. It's the publishing of your web content. And so there's nothing simple about doing a project like this. There's a lot of different pieces and parts and efforts that need to come together to be able to accomplish it, in addition to even thinking about re-engineering your business process for publishing content. It's not just automating something you already do, but many times there is even better ways to do it than what you've done before. And truly, the service that we're offering enables you to do that. In addition, if you're trying to do a project yourself, basically if you're a project manager of this type of effort, you're trying to manage all the efforts between the resource constraints that you have on a project, time, cost, and basically the scope, which influences the quality and all of that, the effort that you put into it. But in addition to that, you have the stress of the FSR requirements and the procurement requirements that are associated with a state project, which just put more stress on the whole effort. And so it is not a simple thing to be able to basically try to accomplish on your own. And so what we'd like to talk about is the value of a subscription service and the difference of the effort of utilizing that rather than doing your own project. In order to use this service, all you got to do is sign up, be trained, migrate your content, which would be your largest part of your effort, and then start using it. And so basically all those difficult project efforts that we just spoke about in those previous couple slides are all contained within that one. So we feel like there's a lot of value in the service that we're providing here, because you're avoiding all of these difficulties in trying to get it up and running. Another value to this service is that it is designed for California government. Sorry for the way that's kind of wrapping up there. What happens is you have different fonts on different computers that you don't anticipate sometimes. So anyway, this is a CMS service that is also tailored to state of California requirements, meaning that it has the state template already integrated into it for you. And what does that mean in addition? It means that in the future, if you were to get into this service and utilize it and put your content into it, when the state template changes, you don't have to go through a state template migration effort. Why? Because it's part of the service. That's our responsibility to bring in the new template. Therefore, your content will work basically with the new template that goes into there. And there should be very little, if any, type of configurations that have to be done, although because of the new template layout, you may want to reposition some of your content. That could be, depending on what a new state template would look like. Also, it's compliant with other requirements already that we have for state government, and that's including accessibility standards. Another value point, it's pre-templated with content types. Many of you have already seen now the new state template, and so you've been exposed to a lot of the, not only template of the, the header and the footer and the look and feel, but we've templated out in the new state template certain types of content types with a particular format and a layout and a look, and in addition, that incorporates semantic elements in there too. And so what this does is it enables you to be able to focus on publishing your content and not have to worry about the HTML code behind that, because even with the new state template, if you get the state template, you're implementing those, but you've got to implement the code and everything else underneath it, so to speak, as far as putting your content into it. Whereas with this system, you're just filling in fields with your content, and it's automatically putting it into the right format, and it's already automatically integrating it with semantic attributes on it. And we'll have more to say about this later on. So this has all been simplified greatly through utilizing a subscription service. In addition, there's enormous value about having this installed and running here at the State Data Center, because you get 24/7 service desk support for it. In addition, you get configuration management of all upgrades relating to all those different pieces and parts of the software that are running there and on the different hardware and everything else. You don't have to worry about managing all that technology in order to deliver and to get your website up and running. Enterprise security, secure access management, security scans, everything that comes with the products that we standardly deliver here at the data center. And in addition, Tier 3 data center architecture, meaning highly reliable and available service for your needs. In addition, to emphasize that a little bit further, this is probably the most technical slide you'll see in the whole presentation. But basically, you're seeing that we've got all kinds of redundancy and failover built into this to ensure that it's highly available for you to be able to use. And that goes for, as we're seeing here, not just the fact of delivering content on the web, but you can see here that even in the authoring environment, we've built that redundancy and failover into it, ensuring a high reliability relating to the work effort that you have to do relating to publishing your content. All right, let's talk about features of the CA Web Publishing Service. It's a web-enabled service, so you can access and update your website from anywhere. There's no specialized software that you need. This runs within basically a browser environment. There's nothing you have to install onto desktops or anything like that. You can edit and anytime and access using, as we said, a web browser. So that means that even with all that's been enabled on the airlines, now you, when you're going on vacation, you can edit the website, right? All right. I'm sure we got better things to do that, but anyway, capabilities there. Inline editing. It's a WYSIWYG interface, simple to use. If you know how to basically use Microsoft Word, you shouldn't have any trouble utilizing this. It's a very simplistic, simple editor that you're able, that's actually simpler in a lot of ways than Microsoft Word as far as, because you don't have as many different things that you've got to address. But anyway, the interface basically looks like this. You just go in and be able to put in your content, pictures, whatever you want. And then before you publish, you are able to also preview it in how it would look in your website without having to publish it out to your website. In addition, if you have content such as this, which is an article that would show up also in an article list, you can also preview what it looks like in the article list prior to putting it out there. So you're able to preview the different ways that it will look and feel before you publish it out and put it out there. It has a full media library support for your documents and your images, and this includes a gallery publishing view capability. For example, I can do a preview of it here, and included in that gallery capability is the ability to do a shadowbox display of your images on your website. Page templates. This is an important one. Most of us would probably think in terms of page templates often being, that I have a one column or I have a two column, or if the template supported it, a three column type of layout. But we're not talking just about that type of thing when we're talking about page templates. What we're talking about is templates that are pre-designed with basically initial content, giving you a look and feel for what they should look like in a basic form. And then you can go in and edit and change the content that is in there within it by utilizing the page template. So it has that for the different types of content pages that maybe you would publish. A general page, or a news style page, or an event style page, or if you have a public profile page of your executive staff, or if you have a board or bureau with different staff in it, you could do that. Or if you have a locations page for all your different field office locations or whatever, it has pre-templated pages for that type of content. Now, in addition, what you can do with a page template, let's say that this was a page template for a news page, and you looked at this and you said, well, that's fine, but I'd rather have a more summary view of my news items in the news column on the left. So therefore, you could go ahead and bring in that component and format it and have it pre-formatted that way, the way you want it. And then if you said on the right, well, on my news page, rather than having a relisting summary of my news items on the right-hand side, we have another events page, and I'd like to bring in those events into my news page. Well, you can do that too and bring that in as a component and have it delivered there also. So now you've taken a template that was pre-templated one way, you've modified it for your purposes, and now that it's been modified for your purposes, you don't want to lose that work you've done, so you can save this as a template for your agency specific. Because obviously you're going to want to template things a little bit different for your agency. So you'll be able to use this as an editor, so to speak, in the system by using the web interface. Features for responsive design, because we have integrated this with the state template. You all know that the state template is very responsive, so is the content that's delivered out of here. It'll respond to a tablet view and also to a mobile view, utilizing basically an internet or an industry standard framework called Bootstrap that basically causes the look and feel to change at certain breakpoints as it is delivered over different devices. It fully integrates modern web technologies, including the semantic. The example I'm showing here has to do with a delivery of event content that is semantically marked up, which our system will automatically do for you. And what this enables you to be able to do, now we don't have any examples because we haven't put it out there yet into a production system, and I don't know of anybody who's implemented the newest state template that has, for example, for events, a semantic markup with it. But where this is going and what we're able to do with it today is this type of query on Google. I'm not even getting to a website here yet, but the website here, Ticketmaster.com, for example, has used, and I've gone and I looked at it, and they have their events are basically marked up with semantic attributes related to events that are basically in compliant with schema.org, which ours are also in compliant with. And by doing that, what happened when I asked the query on there, I said, River Cat's next game. Now, I did this a couple weeks ago, right? So consider what's all happening here and what it's displaying here, because it's not just taking me to links to a website. It's delivering in that delivery specific answers to my question, because it knows when I was asking it a couple weeks ago. It knows where I'm at, right? I'm in the local area here. So it's delivering to my question, Rivers Cat's next game, games that are coming up that are in the local area here. And I didn't even have to go to the website. And so now I can click right on that link and probably buy that ticket right there for that game if that's what I wanted to do. So there's a lot more going on through being able to interpret and understand your content when it's semantically marked up. As I said, the CA Web service does this automatically for you. You don't have to think about doing it. You just use the service, and anytime it publishes it out, it does it automatically. So that's what it would look on a desktop. In addition, on a mobile device, it's basically doing the same thing, but on a mobile device, typically I would probably say that question into the device, and potentially it could actually even give me a read back answer to the same, because it understands my question. All right. Another feature is delivery of social media in your site. You're able to bring in feeds from your social media channels you may have, if you have a Twitter channel or if you have a YouTube channel. And in addition, it'll have the ability to play the videos right there in your site by people clicking on them. So that'll all be integrated in there. Essentially, all you have to do is just put in the ID of your Twitter thing or the URL, whatever it is, to your YouTube channel, and then it will take care of the rest of delivering the most recent content on your site where you would like to have it delivered. This is an important one, dynamic reuse in the system. On the left here, I have a couple different articles on here. What you are able to do is to tag your content with a business keywords or a language pertinent to your business. So, for example, the content on the left, I could tag with these type of tag words here. And now these words that are tag words that have been assigned to your content now enable me to dynamically deliver that content somewhere else. So if I got another page, totally different place in my website, and in the right-hand column, I want to be able to deliver a subset of my news articles related to the subject that this page on the right is about, and it's about only drought. Instead of just being a news channel, it's focused only on drought. Therefore, in the right-hand column, I could configure a component on there to deliver news articles that are only related to drought. In that case, automatically it would display the most recent articles about drought. Dynamic reuse. So basically your website's content is being dynamically generated even as the website changes according to the keywords that you have configured it with in different places for different subject purposes. There's much more that can be done with this, and we'll talk about a little bit later on too. In addition, as is really typical of most modern CMS systems, is you're able to have subscribable channels on your site, for example, for your news, for your events, things of that nature, and people are able to subscribe to that content also. Version control and content scheduling. You will have the ability to have multiple versions of your content, and if you happen to publish a version and then later on you discover, wait a minute, there's a mistake in here, or I delivered this too soon, you can roll back to the previous version very quickly and republish that one back out. So you'll have all this version control capability and even comparison tools to be able to utilize relating to your versions of your content for the same content item anywhere within the website. In addition, you may have an article, for example. Let's say it's this article here on the water conservation, and I want to, you have to roll the clock back, obviously, when I created this presentation, but let's say it's April the 1st, and I have an article, and it's completed, and it's ready to go, but I can't really deliver it yet because the governor has said he's going to give a speech on this subject on the 15th, and by the way, I'm going on vacation during that time. So now you don't have to worry about that thing of being able to edit it on the plane. What you can do is you can schedule it for April the 15th, and when it comes that day, it'll automatically publish at that date and at the time that you specified. You can even specify to do it right as he's talking or planning to do his speech. In addition, if this is a piece of content that's only going to be around for a little while and then you're going to want it to disappear, you can also schedule it to be removed from the website at a particular time. And you can schedule all these things and not have to worry about them, they just happen. This is a question that I wanted to get to this slide because a lot of people had questions in the last time when we did this, long before I ever got to it. So the way we control access in the system is by roles, and these are the main roles that we have in the system of author, editor, and site admin. An author is able to write and edit content on the site. They can upload media, but all of their work is subject to review and approval by an editor. So if you need to have your stuff subject to a review and approval, this would be the way to be able to do it. And so the editor role can basically write content and edit it, upload media of any content on the website, and they have the ability, of course, to review and approve for publishing. So therefore, the editor, being that they have the power of all these things, when the editor writes an article and publishes it, it just publishes because they have that authority. Site admins have all the privileges and authority of the site editors, but in addition, for the whole site, they have the ability to administer users, the menu navigation, and the site look and feel. Now, if you are a large site that has business areas that are managed by different people within your site, including that would have that have editor privileges, but not for the whole site, but for a whole business area, they would have privileges, then you're also able to divide the author and editor roles into the different business areas. So you can have more granular control if you're a large organization about how you publish your content in those different areas of your website. All right, going through very quickly. Because this is a service that we deliver, we also integrate it with our other services that we already have and provide. For example, search is already integrated into this service automatically for your website. In addition, Google Analytics is already automatically embedded there with all the appropriate configurations for your website. It's already will be there and set up for you when you use the system. In the back end, we have a publisher dashboard. Now, this is basically shown as a mock-up because this part is still in development. They are going to be developed. So, we mentioned about those different privileges. Let's say that you are an editor for the website, and so you are able to, when you log in, to see from your dashboard all the work that is pending for you that you need to address, whether you need to review something, or whether there's other things that are scheduled for publishing. It gives you a quick way to be able to have access to that type of information. In addition, you're getting basically feeds that will be coming out of a news site relating to the service, or updates relating to the CA web service will come into here. And in addition, we want to have a user forum where people can ask questions and get answers and things of that nature. And a feed coming out of there of most recent questions will also be available in the dashboard. Also, in that login dashboard capability, we want to have an analytics dashboard available. This is a summary view of your analytics that are going on your website. It is not designed for you to be able to go in and drill down and do a whole bunch of additional analysis. To do that, you just go to your Google account. You've got a full-blown dashboard and reporting capability that is very, very extensive. And we hope to actually have some more seminars and presentations relating to that. But this is purely just a summary view, so that when you log into your website, you can quickly go in there and get a summary view dashboard, since that's what it is, just a dashboard of the performance of your website coming in there from your Google Analytics. Future features for CA Web Publishing, things that we are planning in the future. Faceted search. Because we don't have it actually in production right now, so what I'm showing you is an example on LinkedIn of how faceted search works. If I was to go into LinkedIn, and let's say I was out there and I had searched on the term here, in this case was for a technical writer, I'm getting a huge amount of results, 879, which is way more than I want. So what I can do is I can focus in on just a couple parts of it in a particular area, and that I only want to see jobs relating to that search results. So now I would be able to pull up a subset of that search results. Basically, it's a filtering of the results for what I want to see. Now note here, the way that you tag, remember we were talking about content tagging and dynamic reuse? Well, here's another place where you can get reused, is that if you have dynamically tagged your content with keywords related to your business that you do through your website, then what they can do is whatever search query they would do on your website, they would be able to filter by those tag words also to narrow down the search results within those key subject areas. So what happens when I have done a faceted search on here, now I'm only getting 97 results because it's focusing on just the San Francisco jobs in the San Francisco area. Digital marketing. I don't know if any of you have heard of A/B testing. It's the ability, let's say I have a new online filing application that we are delivering on the web, and I want people to especially go there and use it. And I'm trying to determine what's the best message that attracts the most people to go there and get their attention and use it. And so I'm considering two messages on my front page of my website: file online or fast and easy file. And so what I'll be able to do in the future with the digital marketing capability in the system is be able to have both those messages basically randomly put out, so to speak, onto my website at different intervals, excuse me, so that I can see and get results from that test, running it for like a week or two, of which one is getting the most people to respond to it. So in this case, I may find out that 78% of them are responding to the file online rather than the fast and easy file. Now, further, what we can do with the digital marketing is the digital marketing has the ability by behavior to basically profile people that are coming to your website. This particular person here, or this type of person, is a business user, someone who comes to my website often, and basically maybe even is a person who is a agent for other businesses and maybe files for them online. So therefore, they're a professional using the site and using it often. So they're looking for something, and they're thinking robust, has a lot of capabilities in it. And so they're not attracted to the message of fast and easy file. They're attracted to the thing of file online because they want the thing that's going to be more robust for all the needs that they're going to have. But yet, we still have a different user that comes to our website that is much more casual, that maybe comes only once a year, and they're not in the business of doing this all the time. And so their thinking is a little bit different. And so when I profile them, I do an A/B testing, I found that they prefer by far the message fast and easy file. So now, in addition to just doing A/B testing, I can do A/B testing by a profile group on my website. You'll be able to get the best results. And so what does that mean? That means that when I have profiled a certain group of people coming to the website, I will deliver them one message, and to the other group, I will deliver them a different message. Therefore, getting the best results of people using my online filing application, driving them to the online channel. Future features, shared authorship. You may or may not have a scenario that, or a use case that really fits that for you. We do, being that we manage CA.gov. For example, we have a big section relating to health on our website, but we have agencies that are very much more focused in that area and know that area better than we do. And so we could basically, using this system, which we plan to do, is share authorship with agencies that manage health for the state of California. And so that they can update that and make sure that page is doing the best job of representing what is available to everyone for health in the state of California, since they know that business better than we do. Also, future features personalization. Recently, there was a number of meetings that were done at a statewide level of public information officers for various different agencies in the state of California here, and we called it the Portal Working Group. And basically, they were trying to set strategy for the future for the state of California portal. And one of the things that came out of it was that, it'd be nice if we could have the ability for people to establish a profile and personalize what they want across the state. Now, this is a big effort, and it's something that's not going to be delivered until the future, but that was a longer-term strategy that came out of that effort. So, for example, this is an example of Medicare.gov. The thinking is that they would be able to establish their own profile, and for what is important to them, for example, they could specify what type of notifications that they would receive from the state of California, regardless of what department it was coming from. I could go to one place and specify those things that I would want and associate it with my account and my email address and get notified. That would be one use case scenario, actually a very broad one. And not a simple one, but a very powerful one. Okay, that was basically it. For more information, you can go to our service catalog, and there's a link there to be able to look at it. We have a marketing site related to CA Web Publishing, and or you can email us for more information if you'd like. So, you're all very good. Very quiet. Is there any questions? Go back up. Which one?
The slide before answer.
Oh,
All the links on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
There you go.
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned user testing in the future. How would you do user testing in the first phase system?
Now, you're talking about the A/B testing slide?
Any type of user testing. Where would you will we have a place to put up testing site? Often we have testing.
So what you're saying is you're wanting people to preview your content internally here?
It sounds like just the limited roles can preview.
Well, now, let's just talk about the publishing process. I'm not sure what you're talking when you're saying user test. I mean, that's a broad category. As far as your content and its look and feel, if you remember, before I even submit it for approval to an editor or anybody else, I'm able to preview what it looks like, right?
Okay.
And then in addition, there's been questions that have been asked, and we've been discussing ourselves of different ways we could deliver for someone external to be able to view and preview content. So that's still something that's in discussion of ways to do that.
Screenshots, but we don't have like a test area in addition.
A test area. When you're saying testing, like for example, current sites, the way you do things is sometimes you'll have a test site, right? And people use that for basically publishing content so they can see and show somebody else what it looks like, because the people who are doing the publishing know what it looks like. And so
frequently we share those URLs more widely than just our editors.
Right. A broader executive audience or something like that, yes. And that's what I'm talking about in the future, having the capability to deliver something that way. It may not be a whole site, because usually even when you're having them review something, you really, they don't want you to say, look at our whole site. They want you to say, look at this page. And so we are looking more at a tokenized capability of delivering a single page so that people want to say, review this page and let us know if it's okay before we publish it to an external executive office audience.
So, and I don't know if this is going to pick up the webinar, but if I may, so that is future planned activity. So phase one, the release that will be coming out in the next couple of months will not have that functionality. So currently, the only people who can actually look at a proposed content change, whether that's an update or an ad or even a delete, are people with authenticated accounts. The ability to push that to non-authenticated accounts can be done. Ready to talk online? All right, you can hear me now. I apologize, I was not intending to speak at today's WUG, so I wasn't mic. What we're talking about is the ability for a non-authenticated user, somebody who doesn't have access credentials and a role in CA Web Publishing, to also preview a proposed content change, whether that's an ad, edit, or delete, prior to it actually being published. So that functionality is possible, but will not be available in the first release, phase 1, that's going to occur immediately after the pilot's concluded. I don't have a timeline or a roadmap of when we will be able to do that, but it is something we considered. It is technically possible, but there's some engineering that has to be required. Additional databases actually need to be installed in the system to make that work. Some of the other things we've considered on early preliminary feedback is an additional role beyond author or content author, editor, and site admin. And an additional role might be, and I stress the word might, we've not come to a decision on this, an approver or reviewer role, which actually one department actually asked us to have the ability to have multiple reviewers review and approve out of synchronicity. So, as an example, there might be 3 people that are required to approve any change on a given website for a department. As each person agrees, they would sign off digitally that this is approved, and it doesn't matter in what order, when the third and final person, using the scenario, signs off, at that point, it would be accepted and it could be published. So that's also additional functionality we are now considering, but was not in our original business use cases and will not be available in phase 1. Last, I do understand that a lot of places will do a test-www, just so they're exact, hey, this is what it's going to say. That's not going to be available in this service. But the URLs will be live. So when it's published and made live, it's published and made live.
I have a question back here.
What would be the advantage of using publishing?
Well, when you say you're going to use another CMS, truly this has a CMS underneath it, and it really doesn't matter in one sense what CMS you use from this perspective. You got work ahead of you. You've got a project, because basically you're automating a business process, and you're re-engineering it also, and you're going through all the procurement rules and FSR and everything to do it. So, you can obviously do something and all that work effort yourself. You just have to ask yourself, what's the value at that point of all that and embracing that risk relating to a project and the waiting time.
Also, cost of integrating.
Yeah, well, and the cost of integrating the state template, all those things. That's the point. Is that we can tell you, we've done it, so we can tell you it's not easy. It takes a lot of work effort to do it. Of course, we are focused on a broader-based service, but the reality is many of the things that we've had to do, you would have to redo again. So you'd be reinventing the wheel to a degree.
So that was a lot of the first set of slides that Richard spoke on, the value proposition of, we knew what it's taken for us to be able to do this. We're building a service that we anticipate hosting somewhere between 40 and 50 URLs. And by putting that many websites in this one service, we're going to lower the operating cost per individual. Now, while a single department would not necessarily need to build something this big and robust for just their site, you'd probably end up building 60 to 70% of this for just one site if you wanted to take on all this level of functionality, et cetera. So while you might shed some of the cost that OTEC is incurred to do this, you're still going to bear the lion's share of that cost with all of the time, all of the engineering, all of the development effort And specifically to SharePoint, I know I'm on the web and this is being recorded. I will simply state that this is .NET code. This is more .NET, pure .NET than SharePoint is, and Microsoft uses some of the back-end services and products we have procured for their public-facing internet. Microsoft does not use SharePoint for any of their public-facing internets, and there's a reason for that. So, specific to SharePoint, do what you got to do. Other CMSs, there's a lot out there. Feel free to do what you want. But when we release the template, we are going to release the template as a static web template, package, or download, and incorporate it into this service. So if you've got .NET Nuke or Joomla or WordPress or some other CMS that you're using, any conversion work from that new template release, let's say version 5 comes out, whenever, year and a half from now, you'll have to do that work yourself.
Yes, I think we had one over here first.
Yeah, question. At the last meeting, we talked about standardized banners for websites, the registered vote, save one. In the pre-done templates that you have here, to have the governor and whatnot, are you going to have maybe a carousel or some sort of standardized display for banners that you'd want state agencies to use?
The intention is for statewide content to be able to be delivered that way through the system for the customers who are in this system. I don't know if you want to speak about that further, David, but that's the intention. For example, the governor's picture and all of that is so that you wouldn't have to worry about that.
And this would be a good avenue for us to standardize, we want everybody to have the registered vote, we can have an avenue for that.
Yes.
The display, and we go back and forth on this, frankly. We don't want to take too much control away from webmasters as far as what field or how they want to display. So the Secretary of State actually had legislation passed that says the register to vote online button is required on every State Department website landing page. That's government code. It doesn't say how. Okay, so that how you display it is some flexibility. The fact that it's there, needs to be there, is not. So we go back and forth. We have the ability in this service to lock down areas where even the site admin can't touch it. It'd be a global, all-customer area, and we would simply put that stuff up there and call it done. You wouldn't have to mess with it. On the other hand, by doing that, we would take some of that flexibility and control, so every customer of the service, that display mechanism would look exactly the same for every one of the websites in this service. If all webmasters are cool with that, the state's cool with that, we can do that. But again, we just go back and forth on what's the best practice there. Really haven't landed on one at this time. But what Richard was just mentioning, one of the other key factors, and I want to point this out, is kind of important. Every now and then, well, every 4 to 8 years, we get a new governor. Every now and then, some artifact of a governor's image or name exists somewhere on a website that doesn't get changed. And the new administration has issue with it, says, hey, I noticed this website has got the previous governor or information, et cetera, that's not archival, that needs to be updated because we have a new administration. So in this service, data objects live one time, one place in the database. So there's a global list as well as a customer or department level list. And the global list will take care of those things. Things like the governor's picture. So it's called the governor's picture or some other generic term, not a specific governor. So anytime, whenever Governor Brown finally leaves office, whoever gets elected, we'll get a headshot, we'll swap them out, still be called the same thing. So in near real time, once we update the database and say, here's the image file, not that image file, still called governor's image. Everywhere somebody said, put governor's image here, literally in near real time, the new image is there. You don't have to worry about, well, how many places did I put it on my website? Did I change all of them, et cetera? So that's a huge advantage. And we, OTEC, will take care of those type of global changes that are required across all states, websites, for the customers in this service.
Yes. Right.
One of the questions that came up while I'm working with the new template is, will there be an opportunity for permalink? Like we have, I'm working on this forms project where we have to designate where all our external facing forms are gonna be, and they stagnant. Outside agencies will be pointing to this specific, you know, is there a way that as a site admin, you can put a lock on it or say this path will not change?
So now, let me ask this a couple different ways to understand your question. Because anything that you would put into this system, once it was put into there, it would have a permalink in relation to the site here, right? But are you saying that if I migrate from another site into this one and I want to maintain the same permalink that I had from the site I migrated to? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I think you answered the first one. So once we put it up, it will be a permalink.
Yes, the content, that's, matter of fact, most CMSs do that relating to the content they deliver, pages and even media files. It produces a permalink that you can rely on. As long as you've kept it up there, the content up there, it'll be delivered via that same link every time. It won't change on you.
Only the site admin could make that change, or it doesn't?
There is a way internally to make a change if you really wanted to change it. We can, at least. Through our interfaces, we can get to it. But like I said, once you put it in there and you've delivered it in the system, that's the way the system delivers content.
Because then we would need to know, you know, if we have from our current site to how that, if there will be any redirect or...
Relating to, I'm thinking what you're referring to is like a document, a PDF or something like that.
Right, or a web page. You know, they're used to coming to our current web page that has forms on it, and now we're going to change to your CMS. It's probably going to be a different path. We'll need to kind of direct or...
Yeah, let me take the question back and talk with our technical folks about, because it's really, you're talking about a migration issue and maintaining links from an old system into a new system with redirects. And usually there's always a way to do it. I just need to talk to the right folks to find out, to give you a definite answer. You allow us to get back?
So the forms you're talking about, are these like PDFs or are these like online web forms?
Well, they're both.
Okay.
Now, they want the form management commission or something is run by DGS, and they're trying to do this all agency-wide. Some other people may be involved. But, you know, they're trying to get us to go automated. So getting away from the Adobe fill-in and doing an automated process. It'll be both.
So as far as PDFs go, fillable or not, they can be uploaded into this CMS as a data object in this database as part of your media library. And they would live in the CMS in the data set. So it wouldn't be an external separate website or repository. We do have limited ability to do a web form, and we can look at possibilities of some very more robust web forms in future releases. But if you have this additional secondary site that's already up and live populated data, and you're going to leave it alone and not migrate that content into this system as media, you can link off to it.
Yeah, we will need to, you know, it's probably going to be some good discussion. I know where you're going with it and what your concerns are. So we need to have our own discussions with our folks about what would be the best technical delivery method of doing that.
I'm sure I'm not alone.
Yeah,
So
it's a good question. It's a good question. Yes, thank you. We'll have to get back on that one. I think you've been waiting a while right here.
I had a question about the security measures and tools that you'll be offering. If we sign up for the site, you have protected content, or you have users that sign up and have content on the site. What kind of security features do you offer for maintaining your site? And do you have a third party that would manage that?
Now, you're basically saying you want to deliver content that is going to require password access to get to?
Well, I'm not saying that we are, but I'm just bringing it out there. If you were to offer that feature on your website, or what, security measures do you offer if someone tries to gain access to your site and go behind change the content to offer a message for that. Consumer.
I'm not certain there's a question about the security. So this is all roles-based, it's browser-based. So you would point to your specific URL, assuming you are a named user account for your department. And you're going to have a very specific user URL that's different than the public-facing internet one that's just displayed. So by typing that URL in your browser, you'll be directed to a portal. The portal will ask for your credentials and user password. By passing that through, you will gain access to just those areas that whoever in your organization deems you should have access to. And it can be as granular as literally one document or a text field on one page. And that's all you have the ability to edit, and you can't edit, change, or anything else on any other page or anything else on that page, if that's the decision that was made by the site admin. Or the site admin can say you can do everything you need to do on every page in the entire site. That's a business decision of various roles. So that's the access point.
Yeah.
You close your session, your browser closes, you're logged out, you're done.
The question for those who are here by webinar was about the security measures that are in place, basically protecting the content and the process is what I think you were saying, and that's what David had answered there. In addition, the whole OTEC security that they have here, and they have a whole security office with security tools in which they're scanning servers and things of that nature all the time, looking for attacks of various different kinds coming through. So there's a whole area there that we couldn't ourselves talk to a lot of detail, but it's standard stuff when you deliver here within the OTEC data center.
One of the early slides Richard showed was the technology stack that's providing the solution or the service. And again, we talk about it as being a service, not a product. And F5 was listed there. So this is funded by large redundant F5 appliances that are doing IDS, IPS, web application firewalling, reverse proxy. It's running in Goldcamp, a Tier 3 data center with all those Tier 3 data center security, physical security, nothing unhackable, but it's as sturdy and secure as anything else provided out of the Goldcamp data center.
Okay, we have another question. You?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. You showed us a template for events and for exams. Does it come with the back end for like event registration or submitting answers to exams?
No, the question is, because we showed template relating to events and exams, and the question is, does it have the back end part for a registration service related to events, exams, perhaps maybe even the payment services or whatever? No, it does not have all of that. These are just basically formats for you to be able to display information about those events and exams. Perhaps later on, again, I potentially say there'd be other future things that OTEC could deliver that way, and then it would be integrated as part of this, but right now it's not.
So that's actually a good segue, which Richard wasn't covering and didn't in the slides. It's not an issue, but it might be a good opportunity to discuss. So our intent is, as we bring on customers, and we have probably a dozen that are interested or showed interest in talking about putting in an SR when the time comes, in addition to our 2 pilots, when we get a reasonable user base, half dozen at least, maybe a few more, we intend to have a feedback loop mechanism between the customers of the service and ourselves, where we will take feedback. So we've taken on a heavy responsibility here. The heavy responsibility is we are limiting the customizable assets of this service. We have to do that to keep costs down and to keep it generic enough that we can host, eventually, horizontally scalable, hundreds of websites in this service. They all can't be different and unique, or it just breaks our model. To address that, we do want to look at things that the larger community as a group has a vested interest in. So, again, it doesn't have to be consensus, it doesn't have to be majority, we're not really sure how that's going to work, other than conceptually, we want to hear feedback from all of the users and say if a certain number of users are looking for a very specific feature, like a event registration, I'll just say the name, Eventbrite. the back-end system. We will look at that and say, okay, we have done research. It's not just be us, OTEC in the back-end. It will be us working with the existing customers, not future planned customers, because if you're not a stakeholder. But we'll have a stakeholder community and say, yeah, we all want some sort of a service. We'll do some research, say, of the various services, this is what's feasible, this is how we would integrate it. And once the decision is made, we will take that under advisement. I use that term because being OTEC, we're cost recovery. So if we go and get a back-end system, like Eventbrite, that has a cost, that cost will have to be borne by all of the current as well as future customers via a rate increase. Well, or decrease, depending on how many additional customers we get, because it's cost divided by customers equals rate. So we have to take that under advisement, but we'll do the research, and we'll come back and we'll say, okay, for X dollars, we can add this functionality. It will be an approximate rate increase of X per month for all users. Is that something you guys want us to take on? Yes or no? And if the community says yes, absolutely, we will take that on as an added feature in a future release.
Another question.
Sure.
I saw broken link reports mentioned several places. Does it have an orphan file report?
I believe that all is, yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah. The question was, it shows, we mentioned broken link reports, does it have orphan file reports? And the answer is yes.
Privileges, you talked about the various role-based privileges. Is that based on the folder structure? Are the privileges granted per folder? Okay, so we are referring now to the role-based access privileges in the system, and the question is that applied to the folder structure? So now, if you have only one business area, so to speak, right? You're a smaller site, and an editor is an editor for the whole site, then it's just basically across all sites. But now, if you have different business areas in your department that way, then a folder structure is where that would be reflected at, and that's how you implement the privileges, is at that folder structure level for that business area. From that node on, yes, you control it that way in the content that gets published in there. There is an implementation, but see, that's the type of stuff, though, that you don't even really have to worry about. We're the ones who would map that for you. You would basically inform us how you want your security done, and then we would map the roles to that, and you would administer roles to people. Okay, just note that if we would come onto this on the BOE, we would have an insanely complex role structure that would have to be a future thing. So,
well,
add one more vote for more role structures.
Okay. Well, if you're talking about just simply role structures as far as multiple business areas,
multiple business areas, multiple approvers, the unsynchronous approvers that he was talking about.
Okay.
All of that. And
sure.
Probably more.
Okay. Another question? Yes.
I have two questions. Do you guys have a plan to talk about future rollouts not being in things that may not be available in the first version? Do you have a plan or an idea of, are you going to biannually or annually do rollouts of new features where this is kind of as things come up and become available to users?
Okay, the question is, do we have a plan or maybe a roadmap yet related to, in general, how we're going to roll in features in the future? Will it be by, you're saying, half year or year, or is that what your question?
Is it going to be like, okay, we now have this new feature, let's do it this month, and then maybe next month we have yet another new feature, or even another rollout, or
right.
Are you going to try and bundle and group them and do it in a 3 or 6 month time? Or?
I don't, okay, so they're asking how we're going to bundle the rollouts of new features, essentially, and how, whether there is going to be a one here or one there, or whether we're going to roll them out a whole bunch in a bundle every quarter or every half year or things of that nature. I'll let David try to answer that.
So we've already mentioned, I don't remember if it was covered, but we are in pilot phase right now with 2 state agencies as pilot customers. And we're working with them to start migrating content into the service. We expect to learn a lot, which will help us develop the service further, including training, et cetera. And after that, what we're calling post-pilot will be release 1, which will be the first public release and will onboard customers. we've already got a list of features that we have put into Release 2. So Release 2 is already planned strategically. It does not have a date, but there are things that we already realized needed to be there, but are going to take too long to get once you get the core must-haves up and available to departments, and then come back in a later pass and pick up these nice-to-haves or enhancements. So we've shed them to a Release 2 at a future date. There are a few things, very few things, that we've already, well, what about, where we said, okay, that's not going to happen in Release 2, so it's not even official, but that's going to be in a future Release 3 and beyond. So speaking to how we're going to release, it's going to depend on what it is we're releasing. So if it's a minor enhancement, the role space is very, very flexible. The technology stack we're using does not limit it to the 3. That was an internal conscious decision to get something done sooner rather than later and shed complexity. So we can, technically, there's not something we have to go research, to do different roles and additional roles. It's just more work. So depending on what it is and the need, if there's some critical need that we addressed that didn't think was necessary in Release 1 and we find out we're wrong and the community says, oh, no, absolutely have to do, we'll do those. I don't like the term out of band because that's kind of an old technology. You know, we release every 6 months and if there's a hot fix, we do it out of band. We live in the web world now where, you know, even Microsoft is doing this. They're getting with Windows 10, it's going to get patched, updated or whatever 2 or 3 times a week. Now, we may never see that frequency with this product, but you may get one announced and pushed out 2 in a month. You may go 3 months without any and then get a 5-feature package rolled out in month 5. It depends on what the features and packages are. And again, once we have the community feedback loop, that'll be discussed. Okay, we agree we're going to take on these 3. And after we do the research, we'll come back and say, okay, this one is fairly easy. We'll get to that in the next month and a half. These 2 are more complex. It's going to take us 4 months. And we may roll those up into a release 4 months out.
With regards to the users as part of the basic package, is there going to be limitations as to how many authors or publishers will be allowed into the service or onto the system at one time?
Okay, so the question is about, excuse me, relating to the service delivery, how many authors or editors will be allowed into the system at one time for a particular agency. Essentially, it's not a named user basis. The core package comes with 2. Is that right? Well, I'll let David speak to that. He's kind of more familiar with that.
All right. So as a subscription service, we are offering a base subscription service. That base service is per domain or URL. So if you have 5 distinct URLs, you're going to pay for 5 packages. Each package is going to come with the same contingency. So you're going to have to do a business decision, which makes more sense to you. Do you consolidate a bunch of disparate websites for your agency into one and save money, but you're going to limit the amount of concurrent sessions? So that's how the system works. It's concurrent connections per URL or base package, not department or customer, and not system-wide. So we will be able to limit the connections for a given customer's URL. It's 2. That's connections. You can have as many named users as you choose. That would be something the site admin would be able to do. Site admin is a required role. Every URL is going to have one. They say, I want 575 people in my department to have a user account of some type or another. Fine with me. 2 of those people can connect at any given time. We are going to, it's probably a good opportunity to discuss the base package in general. So the base package is a URL, provides you 5 gigabytes of content data storage, 2 concurrent connections at any given time for content editing, auditing, or authoring, site administration, and up to 20 gigabytes of data transfer to end users, i.e. the viewers, in a month. Now, we are offering additional storage if you believe your data requirements for your content will exceed 5 gigabytes. We are using the OTEC data or storage pass-through rate of $3 per gigabyte per month. Just straight pass-through, no markup, no additional from me. We will take it upon ourselves. You don't have to go out and procure that. We will do the work order to our partners in storage. And for your area, we'll light up another, whatever it is, 2, 5, 10 gigabytes, terabyte if you want it, but you're going to pay $3 per gig per month. The data transfer is basically default. We will be doing log files, and if you exceed the 20 gigabytes, rounded up to the next gigabyte, we will, I forget what the rate, proposed rate is, but it's a couple of bucks per additional gigabyte per month. So if you're under the 20 gigs, it's the base rate. If you spike over because something happened to that particular month, and you go up to 25 gigs of total transfer, you'll pay the additional gigabyte rate times 5 for that 1 month. And then there's the ability to procure for your URL an additional concurrent session, or as many as you want, frankly. You can have 10 so 10 people can be connected at any one time. You want to pay for them, you can have them. And they would be for your department or URL specifically known as not shared set. So it's up to you. So you have to manage your own business. We see it as an internal customer management. So if the math from the technology stack we're using says somewhere between 7 and 10 named accounts per concurrent session. So the 2 that we're providing in the bundle should handle somewhere between 14 and 20 named accounts. Now, if you have more, you know you're going to have more than that, like the OE. So, hey, we're going to have 50. Oh, do that. Oh, we're going to need 3 more. Okay, we can sell you 3 more. You will have 5 concurrent sessions for that particular site or domain. So that's achievable. We can help you with that. But the rest of it is, we look at it as a management prerogative. Log in, do your work, log out, free up that concurrent session for somebody else in your organization to go do their work. There may be urgent times, we understand, where 5 people have to get on. Either you're going to need to get to 5 concurrent sessions, or you're just going to have to do better math, not better math, they just have to manage it. Coordinate internally who in your department is accessing this at any given time.
And the final pricing on that, group by job to July 1st.
So there was a question on when the actual cost of that package and add-ons will be available. Officially, we, as a cost recovery department, have to put all of our business metrics, costs, and assumptions, customer base included, into a proposal that goes to the Department of Finance. It is then routed through internally and is being routed to Department of Finance as we speak. They have up to 60 days to render a decision. So pending a final decision from the Department of Finance, which can either approve our proposed rate, modify it, or even increase it and say, nope, you guys aren't charging enough, and DOF has final say, we can't really speak to what the actual cost is going to be. We do assume, and we're getting close to losing that assumption, it's now May 6th. If they take the full 60 days, they offer or allow themselves to make a decision. It's not going to be July 1. It'll be sometime early July, first, second week. We're hoping it doesn't take that. We are hoping to have an official blessed rate by Department of Finance that we can speak to with certainty by July 1 of this year. I can tell you, heavily caveated, as I just did, subject to change, subject to final approval, et cetera, for budgetary purposes, as people are going into the 15-16 fiscal year planning cycle, we are targeting right around $500 a month for the base package. So if you need to do something internally, you're looking at like $6,000 a year or per URL that's going to go in the site for the service.
Is there a budget? Is there an approximate budget cost for additional concurrent?
Yes, and I don't. That too is direct pass-through. So the way the product is licensed, There's two separate tiers. There's an offering tier and a presentation tier. The offering tier is on separate iron, also a gold camp, completely separate. End tier, web, middle tier, database backend, full architecture, as the slide that Richard showed. So the licensing is by concurrent session on the offering tier. And we have a certain number of them that we're going to parse out and walk to URLs. When we add that, we're going directly to the manufacturer of the product and getting another session key. That unlocks an additional connection. The system itself can handle 150, 200 concurrent sessions as far as the hardware is concerned. 200 sessions would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,400 to 2,000 named users. We may get there someday, we don't know. And it's always horizontally scalable. But it's a licensing issue. So if you need that additional third, fourth, fifth session, again, that's direct pass-through. So we'll go to the manufacturer of the product, get current list price on one license unlock key. They'll quote the price. We'll tell you, you'll say, yep, we will do the procurement on your behalf. We'll connect it to the system. We'll let you know when you have your third, fourth, or fifth connection. So right now, because it's not it's not officially approved by DUF, we can do the pass-through, but it's what we're proposing. I can tell you again, budgetarily, the product manufacturer is right around $2,200 to $2,400 one time for that license, and then 20% year after year for additional maintenance. So as long as you have a third, fourth, or fifth, you would pay that maintenance after the first year on your additional concurrent sessions. So let's say you had 3, you'd pay whatever that is, somewhere between $6,500 and $7,000 first year, and then you would be paying around $1,200 to $1,400 per year after that, in addition to the base rate, as long as you keep your 3 additional concessions.
All right. Here? Yes.
I was wondering, I have a couple questions. One is, what is the technology behind the CMS itself? You mentioned Bootstrap and .NET. Is it custom, or is it based on some source, or what's the underlying technology?
You mean the CMS is what you're asking?
Yeah, and I was wondering if you had any back end looks like.
The back end or the user front end? So again, we are delivering a service. So one of the things we're doing right now is we're building a custom user interface that our customers, not the public, our customers will interact with. It is not the out-of-the-box. So this is a modified off-the-shelf solution. So the back-end system, again, it's a full technology stack. One of the products, the CMS of name, is Sitecore. It is the largest .NET CMS deployed worldwide. It is used by more Fortune 500 companies than any other CMS. It is an enterprise-grade, multi-tenant by design CMS. So that's why we're deploying it. The very nature of what we're doing here requires us to buy a product that supports multi-tenancy out of the box. But we had some issues with the vanilla out-of-the-box functionality. So we've procured other technology stacks, vendor-supported off-the-shelf solutions like BrainJox and some of these others that we have also heavily customized. So by using multiple different products throughout and customizing many of them, if not all of them, we are providing a solution. But that's really the engine in the background is Sitecore.
One of the other things I was thinking of was, what are your? It sounds like it can scale to replace the entire department's website. I have a lot of projects that kind of require, and people seem to keep going towards like having a little siloed site off the site. Because they're like, oh, we just need a little portal to our product or something like that. And it seems like you have your base package, so if for a site that's not super complicated, it would make more sense to try to get that, piggyback that onto a department who's already bought into the system, or like, how do you see this being implemented for smaller projects? Or is this more angled towards the larger enterprise solutions?
No, there's a question on whether or not this is angled more for larger enterprise or the smaller, and it's really kind of the latter. It's small to mid-tier is what this is, because this is multi-tenancy. Now, the product is scalable, and as far as the content delivery, that's where we really have to be careful, if that's actually the right term. So we have 2 hot, load balanced, high available, fault tolerant content delivery servers with a cold standby to keep high availability 24/7. We can build that out as much as we need to take on more small and mid-tier customers. So we keep our process, and this is all virtual. You saw VMware, so these are all virtual servers running in the OTEC VIP, I don't remember what that stands for, virtual infrastructure, whatever, I'm sorry, it's not my area, but it's the VMware solution that OTEC provides. All virtual appliances, like I said, so there's some hardware protection already. Because it's in here and there are 3 servers already available and licensed, we lose one, we spin up a cold, we're good to go. In addition to that, we do have to be, that's why there's a throttling on the 20 gig of transfer a month per site. So for those, I'll pick on them again, hopefully it's not picking on BOEs of the world, we can license dedicated, license dedicated content delivery servers, still using the same authoring environment, still using the basic core services, but they just have their own dedicated server or servers for content delivery. And they would have full utilization, CPU, RAM, etc. on those boxes, and if they, depending on the need and how much they get hit, they may not be a fit for this current service, because we have to be careful of all of the tenants in the service. I can tell you, because it's not a secret, it's open, the lottery, Cal Lottery, is a state agency. They don't seem that sometimes, but they're a state agency. All of the public-facing lottery websites use a site port. Not our site port, but it's the same core product in the back end. And you know that when there are a couple $100 million in a mega jackpot, they are seeing 50, 60 million unique visitors a month. And it's able to handle all of that easily. But they have their entire farm just for their own agency. But that is potentially achievable here. So, it doesn't matter how large you are. There is a way eventually we can handle that. But I just have to say eventually, because that's not what we're building right now. We just extend it out. Oh, you need 2 servers of your own? That's X dollars in licensing. We'll stand them up. We will still do everything we're talking about. Your content just lives in its own database. Your presentation lives on its own servers. They're yours and yours, higher cost. That's available.
For agencies like mine, that is a larger agency, and during certain times of the year, has significantly higher traffic than other times of the year, how would we go about, when we sit down with you and say, okay, here's kind of our needs, our current infrastructure, we're moving to the content management system, what we're looking at in a unique situation, what our load looks like as far as the amount of traffic we have to our website. Is that when you would determine and say, okay, let's develop a plan, you guys don't really fit into the service as it is right now, we need to look at some other options that we might have available for you, or how are we going to determine that?
So there's a question regarding how would we make a determination whether or not the department's site fits the current release model and our capacities. So part of the full onboarding process is we currently envision it, and remember, we are in pilot and we're learning things as we go. Some assumptions aren't carrying out. Others, we didn't make assumptions on, and it's looking like that. We can make an assumption now because it's looking like that's going to be constant. So given that it may change subtly, The intent is there will be, and you don't have any of those onboarding slides in this deck here.
No.
So the intent would be there would be a preliminary meeting. There would be an SR, service request entered through the OTEC service request system, whatever that ends up being. And it would say, we're interested in this. It would just be an interest. The team would come out and talk to you about your site, about your needs, give a very preliminary, people around the table, give and take, hour-long meeting, maybe 2 hours, no cost. And based on that, we'd make a preliminary determination, there's a fit or not a fit. Or it's not a fit for the current, but there's some things we could do. That would come back to an agreement, if you were so of mind, to put in a separate secondary SR. There would be a cost for that, and that would be where we'd actually sit down with you and map your site, your content, work with you on, doing your content tagging and all the rest, and that's why there's a charge to that. And at that point would clearly be, because of this, because of the complexity, we don't have a way to do this, or we do have a way, it's going to be this upcharge. And again, one of the factors, whether you need the dedicated server or not because of your load, you may want your dedicated server because of the cost. So if you're consistently hitting 100 gigs, or for some period of the year, you routinely hit 100 gigs of data transfer, whatever that rate ends up being, you do the math. Well, 4 months out of the year, when it's fire season, we got this thing going on, and we're getting all this traffic, and I've done the math, those 80 extra gigs times X is the cost of Y. It's cheaper for us to buy a license for our own server, and on your own server, you don't have to have a bandwidth because it's your server. That's a business decision. We'll help you get those numbers, but that's the bottom line.
There's a question way back there?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. Sit here and then the template has colors or we or with the service determine the schema, or do we have a choice on that?
Okay, the question he's asking is about the 5 color schemes, is that right? And whether you have a choice beyond those 5, is that what the question?
No, it's a choice of one of those 5, or is it?
Yes.
Determined?
All the color schemes of the template that are offered in the statewide template are offered in the service also, and you have the choice of which one you want to use.
Second question, we run in some real basic .NET applications like things like that, would you be able to host those on your service?
Okay, the question is about some front-end forms to some back-end database applications.
Front-ending some front-end applications running .NET, Razor, Bootstrap, right? And would we be able to put that presentation layer on this service? For example, we've got the ability, we have an application that is a form ordering system. Very lightweight, but it is Razor and .NET Bootstrap. And I'm wondering how do I get that presentation accepted? So I have another URL.
There's a question. There's a question about some lightweight applications and embedding them in this service. So it would be an embed. You can't load those ASP apps directly into the product because the servers aren't built for that. This may sound a little bit heavy-handed or car salesman-ish, but we are building out an application hosting service separate from this that will be announced fairly soon. And if you host your application in that environment, then it'll be very, very easy for you to embed that app in this for presentation purposes. Look and feel that this will look like another page in your website, but it'll actually be running on a separate environment in OTEC. Now, if you choose not to use that app, we'd have to have a discussion on where it is, how we connect to it, et cetera.
I just wanted to add to that, but you can, but in the meantime, if you just need to embed something on the page that's dynamic using your service, that's also possible. also wanted to come back to your question. You had a question about maybe smaller efforts, smaller projects. And we have this thing called business areas. And so essentially, your smaller effort that's not maybe a full-blown site could potentially be just an additional business area attached to your department site. So that's one way to deal with something that's slightly unique.
Actually, one of the other things that I wanted to say was, and I'm not sure if this would be more for the CMS or for the state template itself. I understand you guys will talk about that a bit. But one of the things that I really like about some of the open source CMSs out there is that they have a large open developing community out there. We have a lot of talent within the state of people who are building custom solutions with their own department. I see a lot of siloed efforts happening. What I think would be really cool if OTEC could find a way to provide sort of a forum for those developers to be able to develop for the CMS. So it's like having people building custom widgets or content types or plugins that can do some very specific things for the website that might be usable for other states. I don't know if that's something that we've been angling towards, but.
Yeah, the question is about basically kind of moving or OTEC being able to support somewhat of an open development community with other state agencies that have talent for developing that could also develop components for the system, for the CA Web publishing service. That's an interesting question. I don't know that we really thought about that. We have thought about that from the state template perspective because when it comes to the state template, that's already been out there for a while, and we like to be able to involve when other people are developing something specific to their needs and their site. We'd like them to be able to involve us so that we can look at it too and say what can be used of that for a statewide purpose, and then we can put it on web tools for everyone to use. So certainly would it be an extension of that model. We haven't had those discussions yet, but I could conceive that becoming something in the future. But it just hasn't had those discussions yet. We haven't got anything out there yet to really have a lot of that discussion.
That's a really great point, and I think it's something that we really need to look into. And the pattern that we have currently is that the static template is kind of like on the leading edge, and it's going to demonstrate the new functionality and capabilities which the CE Web system will adopt. So that's sort of the pattern. So essentially, maybe that's a good starting point, is have some kind of a developer user group that can work on a static template, develop new functionality, vet it with us, we can collaborate with you, and then that will get adopted into the CMS system.
Yes. And then perhaps in the future take it a further step further relating to components within the CA Web Publishing Service, application functionality, what you're alluding to.
Because you're right, we're not going to be able to meet all your needs. It's a great starting point, but we're not going to be able to satisfy every possible state publishing need that you may have. So I'm really thankful for you, that you brought that up. That's a great one.
Michael, I know we're kind of running out of time. Were you wanting to move it along to the next?
I think there's one more question. A couple more questions.
Really quick, the 5-color scheme for the CA Web Publishing, for departments that use the customized color scheme that we had approved in a previous template, will we have the ability to utilize that same color scheme in the new service?
So in the service, we're going to be continually providing more options. And so as you get a hold of us and you collaborate with us and say we really need to have this, we're going to do our best to incorporate and give you more options, incorporate more color schemes. 5 color schemes is the starting point.
I think the logical path to that really has nothing to do with CA Web Publishing. It has to do with the state template. It starts there, and if we've got a color scheme that we feel like is something that a lot of people would want or be popular that way.
Well, I don't know that any other department utilizes our color scheme, but
Yeah.
to our request in a previous template. So.
Yeah. We have to have that discussion separate. I don't know the answer to that right now. I couldn't give you that answer now. I think we do need to move on, though, of our time and everything.
I'll be quick.
Oh, more
Are
questions?
there any, video examples or prior to subscribing to the service, is there or would there be perhaps a generic account so we could take the, offline environment for the interface for a little test drive?
We'll probably have to come back to you on that one, but
Yeah.
that's a good suggestion, actually.
Yeah, we heard that question actually in the previous forum too. So it's the second time now. It's a good question. But you talk about video display or whatever. We are planning on creating training videos for it, which people would be able to view to see what it looks like. But you're wanting to be able to like have an environment where I could build a test site and get a test run at how it looks and feels.
Well, or even if when y'all came out to say one of our agencies,
Right.
speak with us, if one of, you could log in and say, okay, this is.
Do a demonstration?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, moving forward.